Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video is a Black Library review. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at one of the many publications brought out by Black Library and giving you our thoughts on the book, audio drama, whatever it happens to be. Now, I will say that we will try to keep this review to as spoiler free as possible, though there will obviously be points where we talk about things happening in the book. We will try to keep away from saying any of the major plot points, so you can go and read this book for yourself. We'll just give you our thoughts on whether or not we think it is something you may be interested in. So we'll use this video to instruct you on maybe is this sort of going to be a book that you would like to see. With that all said and out the way, let's get cracking on. Let's talk a little bit about the book that we have reviewed this time. Today's video, we're going to be checking out The Twice Dead King Reign by Nate Crowley and narrated by Richard Reed. Now, this is the second in a two-part series at current about Ultix, the Necron. Now, if you would like to see our first review, and I do recommend going and reading the first Twice Dead King Ruin book before this one, as it is pretty integral to understanding a lot of what is happening within Reign. A lot of what happens in this you probably don't understand completely if you haven't read Ruin, though you probably could if you really wanted to, but I think you get the full picture a lot better if you go and read Ruin first. Now, as always, I like to give a massive shout out to the person who narrated this, as I listen to most things in audiobook while I'm painting and hobbying. Richard Reed did a fantastic job once again of bringing Ultix and all the other Necron characters to life. Really well done, Richard. But with that said, let's get cracking on into the review proper. I really enjoyed this one. And so, setting the scene for the story, as I said, this is set directly after the events of the Twice Dead King Ruin. Like, literally straight after this book picks straight back up into the action from where we were from, and continues the stories of Ultix the Necron. Now, Ultix, obviously, in the previous story, there's going to be spoilers because you can't talk about this story without talking about the previous story that sets up this story. So, if you don't want spoilers, go and listen to the first book and then come back. Now, Ultix has become the dynast by a circumstance of both the first and his father turning into a flayed one, and then his brother sacrificing himself so that Ultix can escape. And now the armada of the Imperials has come just by chance, really. They were chasing some orcs out of another system and have come upon the Necrons because the orcs fled into the Necron system. And now the Imperial Crusade has pretty much destroyed the Necrons' homeworld and destroyed much of their dynasty. And Ultix is now forced to flee atop this massive ship he calls the Acrops. And with that, Ultix is about to face a whole ton of new challenges within this book, as he not only tries to learn how to be a dynast, but his friend suffering from Clandegor's curse now has, I guess, it started to fall deeper and deeper into the Flayed One's curse, and he wants to save his friend, the Razor of Sedar. The book's purpose, I guess. So the book, once again, I guess its main purpose is giving us a truly great look at the Necrons. There have been some fantastic Necron stories, both the Twice Dead King books, this one and the previous one, along with Infinite and the Divine, I think have done a fantastic job at really sort of exploring the Necrons like never before. We really get a true sense of character to them. They're no longer, this autonomous Terminator robot people that lived in outer space and were an ancient race somewhere. There's true character and structure and a society there for them that really does make them quite interesting and even to an extent relatable in a way. You're going to remember, the Necrons were the Necron tier ones and not too far away from what was really some sort of human, though, a much more brutal style of humanity. They weren't that far away, and having lost that humanity of their own and now becoming the Necron, it's really interesting to see how it affects them and how they've sort of moved on and how immortality in this different sort of state is for them. And along with this comes Clandegor's curse, or the Flayed One curse. And it's a really interesting look into how and why that affects the Necrons. So I really enjoy just this delve into how Necrons are so fearful of it, how it sort of affects them, how some of them accept it more graciously than others. It's really, really cool, like just seeing how it sort of is a major part of every Necron's mind and all this. And really, really enjoy this book and just exploring the Necrons in such a nice, deep and flavorful way. And so our main character, Ultix. Now, Ultix in the previous book, like I said, there's going to be spoilers. You need to know the stuff to explore this book properly. But Ultix was an exiled lord. He's the youngest son of the dynast, and he effectively attempted regicide at some point in the past and was exiled for it rather than being sentenced to death. His exile coming instead of death because his brother tried to, vouched on his behalf of telling him to be flung to some far-off world in the dynast, some nowhere world. And it's actually because of this that he encounters the Imperial Armada before anyone else. Anyway, Ultix had, through the course of the last book, risen above the other two, both his father and his elder brother, as both characters died within the book, and now he is the dynast. And this youngest dynast, who at once had absolutely no reason to ever think he might rule the dynasty, now is in charge of the dynasty, being completely, taken back into arms, and now is learning to lead his dynasty as a king instead of just some commander on some far-flung world. Ultix is an interesting character. For a Necron, he is a little bit compassionate in ways. You get to see his compassion and his friendships with characters because he's not had to be that ruler. He's more had to be a leader out on those far-flung worlds. It's sort of changed a little bit of who he is and how the Necron lords sort of act. And so, what changes about our main character in the book? It's interesting. Like I said, Ultix is a little bit different. He has friends, he has compassion, and a trust, which is not normally common for a Necron lord. And throughout the course of this book, Ultix sort of has a bit of crisis of faith in how he's acting, and he becomes more like that stereotypical Necron lord throughout parts of the book. But he also comes back to himself at parts of the book as well, and I think this is the journey of this balance of am I doing right by being different than other Necron lords, or should I be more like the normal Necron lords of our people? And it's this balancing act throughout the book that every one of these sort of changes of heart that he has throughout the book really does develop the character over the course of the book, and we see him rise and fall above different challenges and change each time slightly, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And in the end, we end up with an Ultix that is different than what we started, and I truly never saw coming how we end this story, but it was a really, really fun ride, seeing this sort of crisis within Ultix and learning more about it as well. And so, what does this book do well? Well, first of all, it shows us, like I said, Necron society in such a great and interesting way. It shows us the political sort of side of it, of all the Necron lords and all the sort of council members. It shows us how certain parts of the army work. It shows us, the sort of backstabbing betrayal that happens within a society that is based on the leader rules all. Really, really cool look into Necrons, without a doubt. But also, it really does have a great character progression saga. I don't think I've explained that well enough in the previous couple of slides. This book does such a great job of centering on Ultix, and throughout the book making you either love or hate him within a matter of chapters. Can change your mind so much on how you feel about Ultix within this book, which I think is really, really good because it hooks you. Sometimes you want to see him punished, sometimes you want to see him succeed, which is great. The author does a really great job at sort of tying you to the character and liking him for the good he does and hating him for the bad he does, which is really, really great. And so, who would enjoy this? Well, first of all, if you've read The Twisted King Ruin, then this is a must-read. To know the ending, I do put a question mark there, of the story. I put a question mark there because, this definitely has the potential to still continue with Ultix. We could maybe see this character again sometime in the changed form he ends the book in, which is really interesting. How the character sort of changes is really, really cool, and I think there's definitely stories to be told with that at the end. obviously, if you're a Necron fan, this book is amazing. Once again, the Necron stories seem to continuously be good. I've read all three, and I don't think there's any I dislike. The Infinite and Divine and both the Twice Dead King stories have been absolutely amazing. Necron fans, you should be really happy. You've got such a good selection of Black Library stuff to listen to. And so, in summary, I don't think anything more is needed than this single sentence I wrote. A true journey of the soul. Seeing a character go through so much progression, both positive and negative, was an absolute joy to read. I don't think there's much more to say about it than that. It really was a story that really heavily focused on a character. It built him up, it tore him down at times, it changed him for better, for worse. It was so good. I really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed reading about Altics in general. Listening to, and I can't state enough that Richard Reed, the person who narrated the book, did such a great job at bringing all of the characters that played their part within the story to life, which was fantastic. But in summary, this was a really fun listen, read, whatever you want to say. Probably a 9 out of 10 for me. And as a whole, I think this is a 9 out of 10 for the whole saga itself. This was really good. And so that is the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming, you can come and join our Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so either by supporting us on Patreon or YouTube members, both of which are linked down in the video's description, or you can indeed go grab some merch on our Ko-fi store. We've got some cool Sinful Gaming dice, which you'll see used on the channel, down for sale in there. Lastly, as a special thanks to everyone who supports on Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give you all a shout out on every video we do that you support. So a thank you to our Patreons, Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Alder and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nielsen, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Dynet226, and Derek. And a shout out to our YouTube members, and a massive thank you as well to Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Villy, Lockloric, the Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Sean Scott, and Pink Nico Fire. Lastly, a massive thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who has done amazing work in setting up our Discord server and doing amazing work over there. Thank you all for watching once again. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.